Westfield's exit adds to a growing list of high-level departures from the city, which includes the aforementioned Nordstrom, a big Whole Foods, the Gap, Banana Republic, H&M, the Hilton Union Square Hotel, the biggest hotel, by the way, in the city, Park 55, and Salesforce, leaving the 30-story building named after Salesforce, along with the closures of a number of major pharmaceutical retail chains. Joining us now with some on-the-ground insight is San Francisco Standard reporter Kevin Trong. Kevin, it's good to have you back on. And listen, I've been following this. I've been posting about this. I love the city. I was there not that long ago. There's almost parts of the city where you want to cry because of what you see, and you feel for the people that are addicted and involved as well. Are we overstating what is happening in San Francisco?
What I would say, Brian, is that we're really in a tale of two cities. A lot of the things that you mentioned in your lead up are happening in the downtown core, which is impacted by some of the problems that you outlined, things like public safety, rising retail crime, property crime. But at the same time, in some of the outer neighborhoods, you're seeing a vibrancy that I haven't seen since before COVID. New businesses opening, more activity, more foot traffic, sales tax actually going up. And that's not to negate what's happening in the former example, but I do think that's a little bit more of a fuller picture that a lot of folks aren't getting necessarily on social media.
I think that's fair. But, San Francisco is a very unique city like Manhattan in that it's extremely tight. It's condensed. It's surrounded by water. Los Angeles has a higher percentage of homeless on a population basis, but it's also widely spread out and doesn't really have that walking central business district. And I think that's the issue with San Francisco, is that so much of what we're seeing, not on social media, but just by going there, Kevin, is that it's in Union Square, it's in the Embarcadero, it's in Fisherman's Wharf, it's in the theater district where the tourists go or used to go.
Yeah, and I think you're right there, Brian. And the problem, like you said, with San Francisco is that the troubled areas, which, like you mentioned, every city has, are really dedicated or really centered in the center of the city. So a lot of folks that's close to some of the tourist hotels that you mentioned, and some of the tourist hotels that are facing trouble currently. Now, the city has done a kind of concerted effort to post ambassadors, more police, more eyes out there, particularly in some of the tourist hotspots, whether that's Union Square, Fisherman's Wharf. But it's not. But definitely, it's fair to say that some of the issues that used to be a little bit more limited are spreading out.
Just quickly on that, I will agree and say the lazy and easy thing to do is to blame crime, right? Violent crime rates have been stable for years. Property crime is up. The car thefts we just mentioned up 50% in 7 years. But the crime came, I think, Kevin, because the city was hollowed out by COVID, pandemic. People left. The people who could leave did. Is there blame I'm not saying criminals are not to blame, but is there also blame on the policies of 3 years ago, which gutted the city for longer periods of time than many other places?
Definitely. I mean, well, it's easy to say that, what's clear is that San Francisco was the first city to shut down, and it remained shut down longer than pretty much most cities in America. And that sort of led to a retraining of the workforce that used to work downtown. A lot of the folks that used to come in, swell the population 2-3 times on a daily basis, just didn't come in. San Francisco has been on the forefront of the remote work revolution, although there's some pushback by some large companies I'm sure you've discussed. It's really still is the leader. Now, with that lack of population, with that lack of economic vitality, that lack of foot traffic, it's pretty easy to see the cascading impacts that has to local businesses and honestly increase visibility to some of those issues around homelessness or public safety that you mentioned.